Hello race fans, and welcome back to another week of Daily Fantasy NASCAR. I'm Chris Durrell, and I'm here for Daily Fantasy Sports Rankings, Rotoballer.com, and Rotopros.com to bring my analysis and top picks for the AAA Drive for Autism, AAA 400 Drive for Autism from Dover International Speedway, better known as the Monster Mile. So to kick things off here, it's been a few weeks, so I'm just going to kind of go through if any new customers are out there wondering how to access the cheat sheet as well as how to make your own copy. So we'll go through that a little bit first. So on dailyfantasysportsrankings.com, you're going to find my preview article. So we've got a link to the cheat sheet here at the top, and then I kind of go through a preview. This comes out midweek, so it's kind of looking at some race trends as well as some pre-practice qualifying targets. And then there at the bottom, we got another link to the cheat sheet as well. So you can click on it. It's going to open up the cheat sheet. Over on Rotoballer, you're going to go up to More, click on NASCAR, and then the most recent article will be there at the top, which this week it's AAA 400. And in this article, it comes out usually Saturday after final practice, so we've got qualifying practice data, so this is a little bit more geared towards that data and the picks that I'll be looking at this week. And then there at the bottom, you can find the DFSR NASCAR cheat sheet. On Rotopros, if you're a member, you can go over, click on Articles. You'll find the most recent NASCAR article there. And then what you can do is scroll to the bottom after reading through the article and some of my top picks, following practice and qualifying again. And then the cheat sheet link is there as well. And the cheat sheet itself looks like this. I'm just going to delete off some of these pages. So the first thing you're going to want to do and realize is that when you first open the cheat sheet, it's going to be a view-only mode. So if you want to be able to sort any of these columns as well as maybe adjust your own models, which is kind of important now if you're playing DraftKings or FanDuel, this will be week number 2 for the FanDuel NASCAR product, is you want to go up to File, make a copy, name it whatever you'd like here, and click OK. It's going to open another cheat sheet. You can close off the first one, and it's going to open one like this. I've already done so. It's called just Copy of the DFSR NASCAR cheat sheet for Dover. So the first thing that you're going to want to do, or first thing you will be able to do, it's always going to be sorted by DraftKings right off the bat. So if you're playing on FanDuel only and you wanted to sort the salary that way, what you're going to want to do to sort is just click anywhere in this column F, which is the FanDuel salary, and go up to Data and click Sort Sheet column Z to A, which are going to be highest to lowest. So now you're going to see that all the drivers are sorted by FanDuel salary there. So that you can do that for any column going across. So for instance, if you wanted to go over and maybe look at career track history, we're going to just scroll over. We've got current track history, career track history, track type history, current form, as well as season form you're going to see to the right as well. So for instance, if you wanted to look at career track history, who's been good here over the course of their career, you can click on this column X, which is average finish. Now for average finish, you're going to want low to high, so you're going to want to sort the sheet A to Z for that. So once you do that, you're going to see Chase Elliott. So we've got some limited sample sizes here, guys that have been good here early in their career, but they don't have as many races. So another way you could do this is sort by wins or top 5s or top 10s. So they're going to bring drivers with a lot more experience at the track to the top of the cheat sheet if you want to look at it that way. You can also sort by DraftKings, average DraftKings last 6 races I've got here in this column. Over here to the left, we've got average DraftKings for the last 2 years, which is 4 races at this track because they race here twice a year. You can look at current form, which is the last 6 races overall, and you can sort that by average finish. You can sort that by DraftKings or FanDuel average points. We got the whole season here. We got 10 races in, so you can look at the the average DraftKings there, laps led, that kind of data. And then over to the right in the light purple, we've got practice and qualifying data. So as that information comes in through the weekend, I update the sheets. I haven't adjusted the full model here yet. I'll be doing that here shortly after the video. So this week, normally on these weeks when practice 1 comes before qualifying, most of the teams are going to be working on qualifying trim to get a good qualifying lap down. So I'm usually going to put, and this is one of those weekends, no weight on practice 1. Tracks where there's going to be a lot of dominator points, you're going to maybe want to put some weight on qualifying. And then the most important data for me when it comes to these short intermediate tracks is the practice 2 and practice 3 data, which comes on Saturday normally on most of these weekends. So usually going to put some weight on the average practice between practice 3 and practice 2. That's your 1 lap speed. Also going to look closely at practice 2 and practice 3, the 10 lap averages. Those are going to kind of point out the guys who've got good long run cars. So we're going to put some weight in there as well. So just, I guess while we're here, I'm going to show you how to do that and what I'm going to kind of be looking at this week. So for DK average, I'm just going to drop this down to 25. So that's kind of the performance over the last 4 races here, the last 2 years. So I'm going to bring that down a bit, and I'm going to bring this down a bit. DK average last 6, I'm going to bring that down as well, probably around that 10. And then season average, I do want to look at that. So I got 60% right now on that, so I'm going to bring that down even more. I want to have about 50-50 on pre-qualifying data as well as qualifying and practice data. So I'm actually going to take career track history rate out, because that's kind of your average finish. We're kind of looking at DraftKings pricing. So one thing I do have to change is just the formula here quick. I want to go all the way over to BB. Now this is something you won't have to do. Once you download it, you're going to have this data all there. All these formulas are going to be in there. So really the only thing you're going to have to change is the weights here up top once you create your own copy. So we are looking at some dominator points. So I'm going to put a weight of 10 on the qualifying. I'm also going to go about 25 on the practice average. And then I'm going to, on the 10 lap averages, which actually I'm going to go 20 on the practice average, even down to 15 to be honest with you here, because I want to put a weight of 10 on that 10 lap average, and then say a weight of 5 on that one. That leaves us 10 points here. So I'm going to put 10 points as well on our place differential. And all this is taking the qualifying position and the practice average, and giving you kind of a read of what guys are going to have some nice place differential value from where they're starting. So a minus number is going to be good. As you can see in that position here, Joey Logano started 18th, but he averaged 7.0 between the 2 final practices, so that gives him a minus 11. So that's just going to kind of give those guys a little bit of a boost when it comes to their value there. So then we've got our ranks. We're going to go back. I'm just going to sort by DraftKings pricing here, because that's what most people are going to be playing when it comes to fantasy NASCAR. So that's kind of how you can adjust your model. So if you're playing on FanDuel only, something that I would probably do is just go into this purple zone here and take your DraftKings average, last 4 races, last 6 races, and change those over to your FanDuel, column BL and column BN in this case. And then as well as your season averages and stuff, you can switch everything over from FanDuel from DraftKings. So that's kind of how you can play with the model and get things working for you to create your own custom models. And then of course you've got your overall rankings here on the right and left. Now we'll get into some of the picks here. So what I'm kind of looking at this week, Dover, we've got 400 laps. Going to have a dominator. There has been multiple drivers lead 100 or more laps in 3 straight and 4 of the last 6 races, so I'm going to kind of be looking at that. Another thing on this cheat sheet, when you go, you can see my targets. So there are some of the drivers that I'm looking at. I haven't added them all yet, but those are just some. So starting off, I'm going to be looking at Kevin Harvick as my top dominator this week. And we'll go here and we'll look at his. He hasn't been great here over the last 4 races. Has finished outside the top. Well, he's only got 1 top 10 in the last 4 races. He did win here in the fall of 2015, so he does have some success here. But he hasn't been too great lately. That could all change. Get back to his winning ways here this weekend. He leads the series with 540 laps this season. So he's been very good dominator throughout the season so far. And then looking at his practice times, he qualified in the front row with Kyle Larson. He was 6th and 5th in the final 2 practices, and 3rd and 5th in 10 lap averages. So it looks like he's got a good short run car and a good long run car. Him along with Joey Logano, they're the only 2 that finished inside the top 10 in all the final practices, including the 10 lap averages. So that's something I'm really looking at as well. Actually, add Eric Almirola to that list as well down here. He's starting 13th. I think he makes a good value and kind of a sleeper dominator. He hasn't led many laps, like 1 lap all season, so I think he's kind of more of a GPP play, but he does come at a good price, 8,600, 9,400 on FanDuel. My sleeper for leading laps this weekend is Clint Boyer. So I think he can kind of do what he did at Martinsville, where he came on late and led laps. I think, Harvick's probably going to get out front there early, lead some laps for us, and I think his teammate here starting 12th, Boyer starting 12th. He got better throughout the whole weekend, so he was 12th in practice 2, 5th in 10 lap averages, but then came out in final practice. He was third in 1 lap speeds in final practice, but then posted the top 10 lap average in final practice. So I think he's got a good long run car. I think he can get up there and lead some laps as well. And best of all, he's 8,800, so pairing him with Kevin Harvick in your lineups gives you potential of 2 dominators, and say 200 plus laps led between the two of them gives you a lot of upside, especially when looking at DraftKings, where you're going to get that half point for dominator. Now, something that I've noticed so far, comparing DraftKings and FanDuel pricing, is that we can really concentrate more on FanDuel guys starting inside the top 10 who maybe don't have that dominator potential. 2 guys that do stand out this week that you maybe wouldn't be considering, especially when running the numbers from the past. Like we got Daniel Suarez. He's again started inside the top 10. He started inside the top 5 both races last year, finished inside the top 10. And if we go over here and we look at the last 6 races at Dover and just kind of look at his results, something that really stood out to me when comparing the 2 prices. So because he didn't lead any laps, started top 5, finished top 10, he had 35 points in the fall race, DraftKings points, and then in the spring race he had 35.5 points. Now looking at his FanDuel scoring, he had 71.5 FanDuel points, and then over here he had 74.1. So it brings him a lot closer to the top scoring guys on the site, which really opens up 3 or 4 more drivers that start inside the top 10 that we normally wouldn't consider on DraftKings unless we thought they were going to lead some laps. And that has to do with there's no fast laps on FanDuel scoring, and you also get points for every lap that they finish. So that really brings the field closer together when looking at that top 10. Okay, back. Kyle Larson has led a ton of laps. We're just going to go look at his last 2 races here. I think he's led something like 300. Yeah, we got 378 laps here in the last 2 races. Hasn't won. He finished 5th and 2nd, started inside the top 5. But the only difference here this week is he's going to be a GPP play for me this week, simply because he wasn't really in love with his car. He posted top 10 speeds after qualifying on the pole in the final 2 practices here, but no long run speed, ranking 15th and 14th. I mean, they could definitely figure out that car, get it going fast. I just don't think he's going to lead a ton of laps unless they figure out that car early on. So he's definitely going to be GPP play for me when it comes to Dominator this week, and pretty much a GPP play overall. Just because of the success he's had here, we can't really discount that. So, and then moving on, another driver that I'm going to be building a lot of my lineups around, probably going to have 50+% in all of my lineups, is Chase Elliott. So we're just going to go look at his results here. I talked about it in the preview article. He was there as my pre-race, pre-qualifying and practice target. He was there post-qualifying and practice target as well when it comes to the Rotoballer and Rotopros as well. 4 races here in the last 2 years. He's finished top 5 in every race, and he's got the potential to do that once again this week. He qualified 6th. He was 4th and 2nd in the final 2 practices, and he was also 8th and 7th in the 10 lap averages. So showing a lot of speed once again, looking for his first win. And like I said before, I really wouldn't be surprised if he picked up his first win here at Dover. He's just been so good here. As you can see, his ranks over the last two years, as well as his career ranks, which is a small sample size, but he hasn't finished outside the top 5 yet, and I think that streak continues this week. Jimmy Johnson's got 11 career wins here, but they've just been struggling to even get a top 5. He's only got 1 top 5, 3 top 10s the whole season. The Chevy team's really been struggling to get speed this year. There's a little bit of aerodynamics going into Dover. It's got the speeds, 150, 160 mile an hour average on the lap, which is comparable to, it's showing the speeds of the intermediate tracks, the 1.5 miles, but it's also got the aggressiveness of short tracks. But overall, I mean, he started 19th, so he's got some place differential value, but 13th and 7th in final practices, and 17th and 16th in 10 lap averages. just not really showing it for me there. I think he's more of like a, I think his upside's probably going to be 12th, and you're more realistically looking at like a 15th to 17th place finish for Jimmy. That's kind of what I'm looking at here this week for him. Ryan Blaney got, he showed his improvement in his car throughout the weekend. Didn't look good in practice too. He qualified 14th, but then came out and he was 20th, 16th in 10-lap average. They dialed it in a little bit in final practice, ranking 12th, and he had the third fastest 10-lap average. So I think he's going to be a car that's got upside of a top 10, even a top 5 this week. Starting 14th gives you a little bit of place differential value there as well. Already talked about Clint Boyer, talked about Eric Almirola starting 13th. He gives you a little bit of that place differential value starting 13th. Showed that he had a top 5 car. Definitely a play I'm going to be looking at with Daniel Suarez over on FanDuel, because I don't think they're going to lead a lot of laps, but they do have that top 10 potential. So definitely guys I'm going to be looking at there. Eric Jones is going to be low owned this week. He hasn't been great here throughout his career, but he's starting 11th and showing the 21st. He showed a little bit more speed in final practice, but when it comes to 10-lap average, he didn't quite get inside that top 10. So I think he's going to be really low owned. So if you're looking to pivot maybe on a contrarian lineup, he's a guy I'll look at 8,200 as well. Talked about Daniel Suarez. Going down even farther, some of the the value plays I'm looking at this week. You got Paul Menard. Hasn't been too great here over his career. Talked about him in my articles as well. As you can see, he only finished inside the top 20 once in the last 5 races here. But he is showing some good speed here this weekend in the 21 car for the Wood Brothers. He started in 20th. He came out and he posted the 14th and 9th fastest times in final practice, as well as the 7th and 10th in 10-lap averages. So I think he's more realistically like like a 13th to 15th place car at the end of the race, but I think he does have potential and upside of like say an 8th to 10th place car as well. So, and if certain crashes and stuff go wrong, he could probably even sneak up even higher than that, but that's more of a stretch there for sure. But starting 20th, I think he's one that we got to consider. William Byron also made my list this week for values at 6,600, 78 on FanDuel. He's starting 17th, so he does have some upside there. He is in the Chevy, and they have struggled a little bit, but he did show some fast speeds in practice. He's top 10 in both final practices, as well as 6th in both 10-lap averages. So I think he's definitely got top 10 upside this week. And this is his first race here in a Cup car, but he raced for JR Motorsports, Junior Motorsports last year in the Xfinity Series, and he finished 6th and 3rd in those races. And those races had Cup drivers in them too. So he's raced with some competition with the Cup drivers and had some nice finishes last year as well. So it's not like he doesn't have experience here. And at 6,600 on DraftKings, 7,800 on FanDuel, I think he makes a great value. And then one punt play I'm looking at this week, been very consistent, especially for his price, is David Ragan. He's finished top 25 in, I believe, 8 of his last 9 races this season, coming off a 6th place finish at Talladega last week. Got some place differential this week, starting 32nd. He was 16th and 22nd in the final 2 practices and 22nd in the 10-lap averages. So definitely top 25. I think he keeps that streak going. He could pick up 9 and 10. And that's definitely more than enough, under 6,000 on both sites here this week. So definitely a guy I will be targeting. If you can throw a David Ragan with a Byron and Menard, you put those 3 together, you're going to be able to jump right up there and grab 2 or 3 top guys, or even compare 2 of them, grab a mid-range guy, and you can grab 2 up top. So with that value down below and the value in the mid-range, I think there's a lot of ways we can go with our lineups this week. So it's definitely going to be a week where I'm going to be throwing 20 lineups into the 20 maxes. Going to be getting some 3 max exposure, as well as probably throwing those same 20 lineups into the $8 beast as well. So I think even cash games are in play this week. There's a little bit of variance here at Dover. There's usually some crashes. Drivers kind of look at this as like a roller coaster ride. You're getting low into the corners, and as you come out and into the straightaways, you're kind of, it's like you're climbing a hill, some of them will say. So there's a little bit of variance. We're going to see some wrecks, but cash games are definitely on the table this week for sure. That pretty much wraps up some of my top picks. You're going to see a few more of my targets show up, like I said, down here on the cheat sheet in the target zone on that tab there. And if you have any questions on this sheet, how to make your models, how to sort columns, anything that we discussed here, or some stuff I maybe even didn't discuss, definitely hit me up. RotoPros, you can join. If you're a RotoPros member, you can jump into the Slack chat. I will be there in the morning leading up to the race. Rotoballer, at the bottom of the article, there's a chat window there. You can answer your questions, or you can ask your questions there. I'll get back to you. And then on Daily Fantasy Sports Rankings, we got a comment section below as well at the bottom here. And then you can also join me in the member-only chat room here. And then, of course, you can always jump into Twitter if you're on there, at Jaeger_bombs9. Pretty much on there 24/7 alerts on my phone, so I shouldn't miss any questions there as well. Thanks for watching the video. Thanks for checking out all my content. Kind of getting back into the groove here now that I got my computer fixed, so I'll be doing a lot more videos when it comes to NASCAR, PGA, big into baseball right now, helping out big time with DFSR when it comes to baseball, so I'm going to be doing some stuff there, kind of going over my own models as well as some of the DFSR Pro when it comes to FanDuel and DraftKings lineup tool and the player lab and stuff like that. So stay tuned for that. And let's see some green screens this week. Good luck, everyone.